LWO1 WeatherNet. Liftoff conditions looking pretty good.
ESPS is ready for launch.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Ten, 9, 8,
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. It's Thursday, December 17th, and on your screen is a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time launch from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. My name is Andy Tran, and I'm a production supervisor here at SpaceX. Today's launch, NROL 108, is for the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO. The NRO is an intelligence community element and Department of Defense organization responsible for developing, acquiring, launching, and operating America's reconnaissance satellites, as well as operating associated data processing facilities in support of national security. These sophisticated systems are used to develop military targeting data, support international humanitarian relief operations, and assess the impact of natural disasters. This will be our second launch with NRO. The first was in 2017, and that launch actually launched from the same exact launch pad as today's mission. This will also be our 9th mission for our national security customers to date. One thing to note for today's mission, per the NRO's request, we will not be sharing any views of the second stage today, and we'll be ending our webcast a little early around the T+8 minute mark just after Falcon 9 touches back down onto land. If for some reason we are not able to launch today, we do have a backup window tomorrow at the same time. So far, we are at T-12 minutes and 48 seconds and counting. All systems are looking good for an on-time liftoff. So let's take a closer look at the payload and the vehicle today. What you're seeing is a view from Florida, specifically of Launch Pad 39A, with Falcon 9 getting ready for launch. Our rocket stands at 230 feet, or 70 meters tall, and that's greater than the wingspan of a 747 aircraft. Falcon 9 has 2 stages and also uses 2 types of propellants, which we'll talk more about later on in the webcast. The bottom 2/3 of the vehicle is the first stage. It's designed to be reflown 10 or more times with minimal refurbishment in between flights. One way to spot a flight-proven booster is to look for that re-entry soot on the first stage. Today's flight will be the 5th flight for this particular first stage. Its first 2 flights supported the CRS 19 and 20 missions to the International Space Station. It flew again in June for our 9th Starlink mission, and most recently in August for the SAOCOM 1B mission. At the very bottom of the first stage, there are 9 Merlin engines that will get Falcon 9 off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The 2 stages will then separate from one another. The second stage continues to orbit while the first stage makes its way back down to Earth for its landing attempt at Landing Zone 1, which is actually not too far off from where it will lift off. There it is on screen. If successful, this will be the 5th landing for the booster on today's mission. It will also mark the 70th successful recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage. As for the second stage, that's what you see on screen. It will ignite its single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine about 2.5 minutes into flight. It's this engine that will take the NROL 108 spacecraft to its intended orbit. And speaking of the satellite, it's currently safely enclosed inside the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which is that structure at the very top of the rocket and what you see on screen right now. This protects the satellites from aerodynamic heating, loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we will jettison the fairing halves while the second stage continues to orbit. Both of the fairing halves today will be brand new. We'll also be attempting to recover them from water today using our recovery ships Mystery and Go Searcher. One thing to notice is some unique artwork on the fairing. This was chosen by the NRO because gorillas are peaceful animals, but can be fierce when necessary, acting quickly to defend themselves and warn others at any sign of a threat. And like the gorilla, this mission is constantly vigilant. and ready to defend its own, demonstrating the NRO's commitment to protecting the United States' warfighters, interests, and alliances. And finally, the large truss structure next to Falcon 9 is called the Transporter Erector, also known as the TE. Its job is to roll Falcon 9 out to the launch pad, raise it to a vertical launch position, and also route power, fluids, and communication to both the rocket and the satellite. We are about 9 minutes and 20 seconds from liftoff. All conditions continue to be green. Falcon 9 rolled out onto the pad Wednesday morning and went vertical around 3 p.m. Eastern. More recently, the SpaceX launch director held the go, no-go poll for propellant load and launch at the T-minus 38-minute mark. We're currently working no issues on the Falcon 9 launch vehicle. Again, if we do have a hold to today's launch, we actually do have a 2-hour and 15-minute window that could allow us to reload the ultra-cold liquid oxygen and make another launch attempt today, but this presumes that we understand whatever caused us to hold the count and can safely proceed with a recycle and launch. If we can't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. Falcon 9 has also been loading propellants since the T-minus 35-minute mark, when we started loading both fuel and oxidizer into each of the stages. Our fuel is a refined form of kerosene known as rocket propellant 1. We also refer to it as RP1. Fuel is fully loaded on the second stage and will finish loading on the first stage around the T-minus 6-minute mark. As for oxidizer, we use super chilled liquid oxygen. We also refer to it as LOX. Typically, launch providers use LOX right near its boiling point of negative 297 degrees Fahrenheit. Here at SpaceX, we actually chill the liquid oxygen another 40 degrees colder, making it denser and lets us load more into the first and second stages. LOX is currently loading into both the first and second stages at the moment. We load it as late as possible to keep it from warming up and decreasing its performance. We're also finishing up helium loading. As the Merlin engine pumps pull RP1 and LOX out of the tanks, we need to fill this empty volume called the ullage. We use the helium stored in pressure vessels and expand it using heat from the Merlin engine gas generator's exhaust. In about 20 seconds, we'll have engine chilling beginning. This is where we allow a small amount of super chilled liquid oxygen to flow past the turbopump inlets, cooling them down to avoid thermal shocks when we light the Merlin engines at the T-minus 2-second mark. The spacecraft team also transitioned the NROL-108 payload to internal battery power around the T-minus 8-minute mark. We're currently working no issues, and so no further actions are required before launch. As for the range, they are standing by to support today's mission and are currently green. For weather, it's cloudy on the East Coast, but we're still 70% favorable for an on-time liftoff today. That said, all systems continue to be go for an on-time liftoff of 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. As I mentioned earlier, the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO, is a joint Department of Defense intelligence community organization responsible for developing, launching, and operating America's signals, imagery, and communication satellites. Here's a closer look at the NRO and its capabilities.
RP1 load is complete and closing out.
T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
We are the agency that made the impossible possible, protected the world, and brought technology to levels undreamt of.
Go Atlas, go Centaur.
The race to space was a series of firsts, and we were there. We were the first to surveil our adversaries from the high ground of space, literally taking technology to new heights, watching our adversaries, guarding against the threat of nuclear war, and providing strategic advantage to our nation. We were the agency no one had heard of, because we worked in total secrecy. But we've stepped out of the shadows, and we are writing the next chapters of American space technology. We are the National Reconnaissance Office, The NRO, the world leader in our tradecraft, collecting top secret imagery and signals from space. Natural disasters threaten thousands of lives. Conflicts displace millions, and adversaries mount threats. We give advance warning, aid in the aftermath, protect our citizens, and safeguard the world. We are the only agency that develops these tools, partnering with the intelligence community, the military, and the best of private industry to drive innovation. We are the leader in space intelligence systems, the NRO. At the heart of it, our people. People who take satellites from idea to orbit, focusing talent and resources, developing, building, launching, operating sophisticated NRO systems that help us maintain global vigilance 24/7, 365. Small sats made possible by miniaturization, reducing costs and expanding possibilities. Large satellites with capabilities designed to answer our toughest national security questions. Pioneering achievements on the ground, where analysts bring it all together. How do we do it? By investing in the latest research and development, using augmentation, automation, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, employing acquisition strategies to encourage competition, enabling us to work with the industry's best and brightest, like-minded people, committed to technology without limits. This is where careers rise to heights unimagined, where you can take your eyes and ears into space. We deliver, under budget and on schedule, meeting and exceeding expectations, to answer questions yet unasked. We develop new technologies every day and put them to use in record time in the high ground of space. No one can match us. The National Reconnaissance Office, the world leader in intelligence gathering. We are the NRO.
We are just over 2 minutes until liftoff. Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. The vehicle remains in good health. About 2 minutes ago, the transporter erector began to retract away from Falcon 9, providing clearance for liftoff. In just a few seconds, liquid oxygen loading should finish loading on the second stage, and that'll wrap up propellant loading. At the T-minus 1 minute mark, Falcon 9 will be in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers are now controlling the launch countdown. The range continues to be green for launch, and the weather still remains cloudy, but again, we are still 70% favorable for an on-time liftoff today. As a reminder, if we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. And it does look like we have a hold to the launch countdown. Let's check in. We're going to check in with the team to see if we can get some more information on that. Give us a second. Hey, just checking in here. We are waiting for the teams to debrief, and we will report back when we get more information. Again, we had a hold to the countdown at the T-minus 1 minute and 53 second mark. Again, we're just waiting for the team to debrief. Hey, this is Andy from SpaceX again. We have reset the clock to T-minus 45 minutes. This doesn't necessarily mean that we will be recycling today, but we do have a launch window all the way until 12 p.m. Eastern. At this moment, we are still trying to understand exactly what happened, and so we're waiting for the team to debrief and gather more information. For now, we'll be sitting tight, and we'll try to update you as we get the information. It's looking like we are going to try to recycle today. Now keep in mind the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch potential issues prior to flight. Overall, the vehicle and payload appears to be in good health. The new T0 is still to be determined, but we do have a launch window that ends at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. The team is still trying to determine if we are going to recycle today and attempt another launch attempt. Again, keep in mind that the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch these types of issues prior to flight. Overall, again, the vehicle and payload appear to be in good health. T0 is not yet determined, but again, we do have a launch window that ends at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're just joining us, we did have a hold at T minus 1 minute and 53 seconds. We reset the countdown to T minus 45 minutes. At this point, the vehicle and payload both appear to be in good health. We are waiting on a decision on whether or not we will be making another recycle attempt and launch today. Our window ends at 12 p.m. Eastern time. If we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. Hey, just another quick update from myself. The team is still trying to determine whether or not we'll be able to recycle today. The vehicle and payload are in good condition. We're still trying to figure out the next T0. We do have until 12 p.m. Eastern time today, but and fingers crossed that we can recycle today and launch. If not, we do have a good shot tomorrow to send this NROL 108 satellite into orbit. If you're just joining us, this is the NROL 108 mission. We did have a hold to the countdown at the T-minus 1 minute and 53-second mark. At this moment, the team is trying to figure out if we can recycle and make another launch attempt in today's window. The window today ends around 12 p.m. at 12 p.m. Eastern time. If we can't recycle today, we do have a backup launch opportunity tomorrow. At this point, the vehicle and the payload are in good health, and I'll be giving you periodic updates. We should have more information in about 20 minutes, so I'll keep you guys updated, so stay tuned. Hey again, it's Andy from SpaceX. Just giving you guys another update. We are still trying to deliberate if we are going to make a recycle and launch attempt in today's launch window, which ends at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Again, if we can't launch today, we do have another opportunity tomorrow, which is another good chance to launch the NROL 108 satellite. We'll continue to update you as we get more information, so stay tuned, and we'll update you as soon as we can. As you can see, we have held the countdown. We held it at the T-minus 1 minute and 53 second mark and reset it to the T-minus 45 minute mark. The vehicle and payload are in good health. The teams right now is trying to understand what exactly caused the hold and determine if we can recycle and attempt launch again later today. If we are unable to launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. We should have a better update on whether or not we will be able to launch in about 15 to 20 minutes. Until then, I'll be periodically updating you about the vehicle and how we're doing. If you're just joining us for the NROL 108 webcast, the team is still trying to determine if we're going to be able to recycle and attempt to launch again. The vehicle and payload are in good health, so you don't have to worry there. The new T0 is still trying to be determined, but we do have a launch window that ends at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, if we can't launch today, we do have another opportunity tomorrow around the same time. We'll periodically update you as information becomes available. Hang tight, and the vehicle is definitely in good health, and payload is also in good health. As you can see, we have held the countdown for the NROL 108 mission. The team is right now trying to determine if we can recycle and relaunch today. We haven't determined a new T0 yet, but both the vehicle and payload are healthy. If we can't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow. We should have more information in the next 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll try to update you as soon as we can. If you're just joining us for the NROL 108 webcast, we are currently holding the countdown. During the countdown, pressure was slightly high in the upper stage liquid oxygen tank, which caused the abort. Now keep in mind, the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch these potential issues prior to flight. The vehicle and payload are in good health. Right now, the teams are evaluating whether or not we'll be able to recycle the launch attempt today. We should have a better idea of whether or not we'll be able to recycle today in the next 20 or 30 minutes. Again, if we are not able to attempt another launch today, we do have another launch opportunity tomorrow for the same time frame. Thank you for hanging in there with us, but this is the nature of the launch business, so sit back and stick with us. Welcome back to the NROL 108 webcast. We are currently holding the countdown. We had an abort at T-minus 1 minute and 53 seconds and reset it to T-minus 45 minutes. During the countdown, pressure was slightly high in the upper stage liquid oxygen tanks, which caused the abort. We do these types of checks to make sure we catch any and all potential issues prior to flight. Both the vehicle and the payload are continuing to be in good health. The team right now is evaluating whether or not we'll be able to make another launch attempt today. We should have a better idea of that in the next 15 to 25 minutes. If we can't launch today, we do have another backup opportunity tomorrow in the same time frame. Again, thanks for sticking with us for everyone that is tuned in right now, and we'll update you as soon as we can. Thanks for continuing to join us for the NROL 108 webcast. We are currently in the middle of a hold on the countdown. What you're seeing on screen is a view of Falcon 9 sitting on pad 39A in Florida. During the countdown, we saw some slightly higher pressure readings from the second stage LOX tank, which caused the hold to the countdown. Now keep in mind, we do try to catch these potential issues during the countdown prior to flight to make sure that we are absolutely spot on for a successful liftoff. The vehicle and payload are in good health. The teams right now are determining if we are able to recycle and make another launch attempt today. We should have a better idea of whether or not we'll be able to do this in the next 20 or 10 to 20 minutes. If we're unable to launch today, we do have another opportunity tomorrow, Friday, in the same time frame. Thanks for sticking with us, and I'll give you an update in a few more minutes. Hey again, just checking in with everyone. This is the NROL 108 launch webcast. During the countdown, pressure was slightly higher in the upper stage liquid oxygen tank, which caused a hold to the countdown. Again, the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch these types of potential issues. Both Falcon 9 and the payload are in good health. The team is still evaluating whether or not we'll be able to recycle and attempt another launch today. Our window ends at 12 p.m. Eastern. So we should have more information in the next 10 to 15 minutes. If we can't launch today, we do have another opportunity tomorrow in the same time frame. Again, thanks for hanging in there with us, and sit back and we'll update you as soon as we can.
visibility on countdown.net. We are going to stand down on a recycle attempt today. Launch control, you're good to abort recycle launch at this time. We will be setting up for a 24-hour recycle.
If you've been following along, we had an abort on the countdown at the T-minus 1 minute and 53 second mark. At that time, sensors detected slightly high pressures in the upper stage liquid oxygen tanks, which caused the abort. Now keep in mind, the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch potential issues prior to flight. There are 1,000 ways launch can go wrong and only one way it can go right. And given that, we are overly cautious on the ground, and if the team or vehicle sees anything that looks even slightly off, they'll stop the countdown. The vehicle and the payload are in good health. The team gave it their best effort to recycle within the remaining launch window, but it just wasn't in the cards for us today. Again, the vehicle and the payload are in good health, but this will end our launch attempt for today. The next earliest launch opportunity is tomorrow, Friday, December 18th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. As always, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you on the next attempt tomorrow.